continuing to read Actual Fact, series number 72, entitled Qasas-huu, His Story. We're on page 62, and let's continue. All right. So, 514. All right, let's go to 513. And originally, they prepared their Mukradu children to live on any place here on this planet, inside it or under its waters. 415. And they were of one made, Tasu 9 minds, Tasu 9 people, Tasu 9 dwellers. One dwelt on land, another dwelt in the Patat sky, another dwelt beneath the Mayayat waters, another dwelt in caves, another dwells in hills, another dwells on deserts, another dwells in ice, another dwells in shagorat trees, another dwells in forest. 515. These were the 9 dwelling places of Tasu Akal, 9 mind conceptions. Why you see so many features in your own race, yet one Mukasu people? There are 9 distinct features in our own race. After the planet was healed, many died off, yet the mixing resulted in today's 9 distinct features of our race. There can be said of the other 2 Salau races, 3 of Nagar Nadu, that's the Mongoloids, so 3 species of the Mongoloids, and 6 of Caucasus-Nadu, Caucasoids as well. As you compare the 3 major races and numerous subdivision races of human beings, called the planetary nations on Plan ET, an extraterrestrial plan, the 9 subdivision races of deities constitutes this universe, Paa Taraq the all race, or universal nation on Makab Mata, planet Earth, and by extensions of all, or Paa Taraq the all. This Wahoo Makwan universe and all the Kale Makwanats omniverse, know yourself. 522. The physical Wahoo Makwan universe did not always exist as you know it. The Wahoo Makwan universe was grown out of and in the Kale Makwanats omniverse. This Wahoo universe, as well as Wakut's time itself, had a beginning by way of a Big Bang 18 billion years ago. All right. So you have the all, reminds me of what he's saying. I was like, you have the universe, and then you have the universe was grown out of the omniverse. All right. So when you say universe, you're saying one. All right. And when you say one, you can't say one without saying the components that make it up. All right. So that's like saying now you can interchangeably use Wahoo Makwan or universe. That's you saying the all. Because you're saying one. I am one as the all expanding, and the all expanding is one as me. All right. So the all, and it's an article. One. And if you say one, you could break it apart. All right. So the all, it grew out of all. So Kale Makwanats is the omniverse, because omni means all. All right. Omni is like omnipresent, all present, omnipotent, all powerful. All right. So you're saying all. You don't have to say any the in front of it because there's no articles. It just is. When you say the all, you start naming things. All right. So the physical Wahoo Makwan universe did not always exist as you know it. The Wahoo Makwan universe was grown out of the Kale Makwan omniverse. This Wahoo Makwan universe, as well as Wakut time itself, had a beginning by way of the Big Bang. 18 billion years ago. So today, astrophysics reveal that there was a Wakut time when this Kale Makwan universe, as you know it, did not exist, and that there was a time when time, as you count, it did not exist, and its birth was not random. All right, because in order to you to tell time, time is a construct of matter, because time is, you can only have time because time is a relationship uh, of matter or objects with each other, and you measure in the space, because in order to have time you need space and you need objects. All right, so we tell our time from a physical sun and our physical planet and our relationship to each other. So based on that relationship, it measures time. All right, that's why the relationship on Venus to the sun is a different time zone, because it's a different relationship between those matters. All right, and time is not random, as matter is not random either. All right, so there is a finite beginning. It's not infinite. All right, so beginning itself. So the all is finite. All right, because there's a beginning to it. There's a beginning to one. Once you start counting one, you know that you're marking a finite existence or a conditional existence. And then you go behind there and you go to an infinite existence or a divine existence. So you have conditional and you have unconditional, and we acknowledge both. All right. So there is a finite beginning. It's not infinite. 525. The very fact of a finite beginning caused by and guided by a kahen, a divine mind, or a kalat, minds who existed before and beyond this one universe. That's why we have mind and sex. We break it up in twice. Now, it doesn't mean we don't have sex. We're physical. Of course we do. All right. But there's some that's all they have. All right. And then there's some that they go further, their mind. All right. But mind is older than sex. All right. Or mental is older than physical. All right. So the very fact of a finite beginning caused by and guided by a kahen, a kal, divine mind, or a kalat, minds, who existed before and beyond this one universe, kahen makwanu, divine beings, who were involved in the growing of this wahu makwan universe, and the bashar flesh, and the man blood life within it. And they intervene in Hamanadu humanoids' lives, both good and nahes, evil ones. All right. So there's still a divine, whether you're an evil being, whether you're 6th ether or 9th ether, you're still being guided by this omniverse, this omnipresent. All right. So even though they say, that's why in another scroll, one of Baaba's older scroll, he says you have conscious gases and unconscious gases, and they both do the bidding of the all, just one consciously and one unconsciously. All right. Because Caucasians, for example, they don't exist randomly. They exist in their specific place and time. So when you step back, it makes perfect sense to the larger picture. It just seems chaotic because you're right in it. All right. But when you step back, it's not just in any random spot. It's a beautiful picture where it is, you know. So you have that's why we respect Pahut. So there's no room for hate. All right. However, you respect the articles. So if you know how you're made up, all right, and you want to be wise to your design, you're going to respect the articles in which you have, your conditions. All right. And that's called grounding yourself. That's called being wise. All right. So to grow and create life from non-life cannot be done. Scientists have tried and have utterly failed. All right. So what does that say? That say that energy is not being created or destroyed, it's just being transformed, all right, or slowed down. All right. So the rules of Fatah, natural nature of biogenesis, declare that life can only come from life, not random chance or just say be and it is. All right. Baabaa said in the other scroll that there's no extraterrestrial from anywhere that uh that can supersede the rules of natural nature. All right. They all work within, it's just some misuse natural nature, but they all working through means of it. And it's just this one has more information than that one. All right. So there's no being that's just saying be and it is. So for example, it's not just oh be and it is. It's about vibrations, resonance. All right. Because when you go into a certain frequency, we know that we can affect the frequency over there. So that's why the quickest distance between 2 points is not a straight line. It's a reflection or a resonance. Because once you resonate that one, the other one in its image and after its likeness will also resonate immediately through space and time. And then you have beings that just go on timelines. By the time you go to that point, you'll be dead. But if you could resonate that, you'll be there right now. All right. So that is science. All right. That's called physics. All right. You learned that in physics. So you're still working by a rule of nature. All right. That's still a rule of nature. All right. So 528. They now all know. Okay. They now all know of the Mamtat, also known as the matrix, and its intricate mathematical rules that determine the movement and motion and expansion of this universe. So everything had to be just right from the start, very start, well planned. Everything from the value of the fundamental forces, everything like magnetism or electromagnetism or gravity to the relative masses and the various subatomic particles. That's what I wanted to say. Subatomic particles, because you have subatomic particles that are exchanging between different star systems all the time. All right. So when you have these different electromagnetic waves, that's like being impregnated by each other. All right. So that's why you can be affected by the very vibrations of Sirius. All right. And actually be one of their seeds. All right. Because of why? Let's read this again. They all know of the Mamtat's matrix and its intricate mathematical rules. All right. You can't supersede the intricate mathematical rules. You could just respect them. All right. That determine the movements and motions and expansion of this universe. So everything had to be just right from the very start, well planned. Everything from the value of fundamental forces, everything like electromagnetism and gravity, to the relative masses of the various subatomic particles, to things like the number of neutrino types at Wakut's time of movement, and the second, which the Waku Makwan universe has to know already at 9.45 seconds. All right, so you have different types of neutrino. All right, when you start to break these particles down. And each neutrino has its own rule for vibration because each dimension vibrates on its own rule. All right. And it's also vibrations that hold everything together. That's why you can break things apart. Like for example, when you are heating your food in a microwave is actually doing it through sound. All right. So sound heats up the food and it makes the molecules move fast. So the friction is actually what is making your food get hot. All right. But that means it could be breaking up the bonds. That's why I say it's not good to eat microwave food, because you're distorting the natural connections in order to cause those frictions. So it's like distorting the code of the food. All right. You're scrambling the workings of the food. But you see how you still they still understand the rules of the intricate mathematical rules. All right. So the slightest tinkering with a single one of the scores of basic value and relationships in Fatah natural nature would have resulted in a Wahoo Makwan universe very different from this one we live now. All right. So if you change one thing, one condition, that's going to give birth to a very, very different type of universe or different type of being. Like, for example, you have all these different races, all right? Or let's just say different species. Let's say a chicken and a human. Do you know chickens and humans, most of our DNA is the same? It's just a few little details that make it a whole nother species. So even between the different races, there's even less. But when you twinkle it, even the slightestly, you're going to give birth to a whole different kind of creature. All right. So you being here is not random. The exact right condition needed to exist for you to exist as you exist right at this moment. All right. So the rules of physics existed from the very beginning of this one Wahoo Makwan universe and had to be finely tuned to allow this Wahoo Makwan universe to grow into Wajunat's existence the way it does now, with Jasad flesh and blood, thinking creatures in it mathematically. All right. So now let's go back to the Anunnaki creation. The Anunnaki creation resulted in many defects and things that are out of tune with nature, things that are going out of existence all the time. All right. Now, when you go to the natural growth cycles, what's happening? Things that exist in its many different states. All right. And it's made perfectly the first and when you're going through the natural rules of physics, through the Wahoo Makwan, the universe, everything is made perfect the first time over. All right. And then it's redone over and over again in different ways, different combinations. All right. And that's why you start going through the 99 names. All right. So when things start warming up in the chaotic waters of noon, all right, and noon tet, it starts to become duality, all right, which starts to give movement to room, and steam, which starts to give room to friction, which starts to give room to sparks, that sparks. And then you just start to recombine. So now you grew these different elements from itself, essentially. It grew out of its own self. And then you just start to combine these elements, all right, into more complex. And then you realize you're just telling the same story over and over. You're telling the same story over and over. And then you circle right back to yourself. So you start with Atum and you end with Anun. And what does Anun do? Circles right back to Atum to become another atom. So you say, you end with Amun, I meant. So Amun, the hidden one, right, circles back to Atum. And where is he hiding? He's hiding in the water of Noon. All right. So all that you see is happening in all that you don't see. And all that, the mirror of the 99, is simply just Noon. All right. Or Anun. So that's why you have our triangle, where you put Atun on the top, and you put Atum with the rising, and then you have Amun. They call it the hidden sun. Looks like that. All right. And we learned a lot about that for a long time. And then later on, we learned about the mystery of Anun, right? Which is its etherical counterpart. So that's that triangle, which is really a circle. And you just keep cycling around. All right. No beginning, no ending. All right. And only the one who created the circle knows its beginning. Reality is no beginning. All right. It's just the same story told over and over. And it just feels personal because it's your turn. All right. That's the only reason why it's personal, because of your emotions. All right. But there's no, the uniqueness is just your condition. All right. So it did not randomly come to Rajudan existence, just as the right properties to allow humankind thinking, creating Mukwanu beings to exist. And for those who say yes, that means our God, Allah, Yahweh exists. I simply say yes within this universe after you thought an unseen Gadad into Makwan being. As for your holy books, they all teach the God deity is physical, came to earth. All right. So now Bob is going to unwrap the story, because no, we don't accept your Allah. We don't accept your God. We don't accept your Yahweh. We don't. It doesn't mean we're atheists. All right. We don't worship the way you worship, because guess what? It's showing that your God is going here, hovering above waters. He sits on a throne. So he's part of the articles. He is not all. He is part of the all. He's just part of the all. He's one of the articles, because he goes here. He sits here. He asks questions. He passes judgment. All right. Only the articles need to pass judgment. The all, not the all. All omniverse, what we call omniverse, it just is. All right. That's why we have this. All right. This represents our divine mind. All right. And then our two eyes, it represents our conditional mind. All right. And we're both together. All right. But this is where one existence stops. And then the two balls, eventually, you have your physical side, your etheric side. And then eventually it will come together and pop into one ball. And then you'll just have all. All right. And you're just there with the Etherians. All right. So their being is not that. All right. Their being gets jealous. All right. Has feelings, gets upset, has favorites. All right. Just another extraterrestrial, nothing different from any other uh uh constituent. All right. Just one of the many dots in our boundless universe. All right. You have so many dots. All right. There you go, all these dots. And they're calling God this. All right. So their creation story is very limited. All right. So as for those who say yes, that means our God, Allah, Yahweh exists. I simply say yes within this universe after you thought an unseen God into Makwan being. As for your holy books, they all teach the God deity is physical, came down to earth, as in Genesis chapter 11 verses 5 reads, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the city of men built, and all his Makbatu angels came down to Mata earth from up there where he sits on a throne. A Quran chapter 97 verses 4 reads, and angels in the spirit descend therein by permission of their Lord for every minute. All right, so he's sitting on a throne telling others what to do. in John chapter 8, verses 23. And he said unto them, ye are from beneath, I am from above. Ye are of this world, I am not of this world. All right. So when you have this God, he's telling you right there, I'm not Omni. I am Wahu Makwan. I am not Omni Makwan. All right. So he says, I am from up there. I am not from here. All right. When we say all, we're saying above, below, left, right. We're actually not even saying left, right, above. We're saying all. All. All right. So there's no superiority like, oh, I'm not from Earth. I'm from Sirius. All right. So it makes me better than you. All right. That shows you the limit of that type of being. All right. So we have extraterrestrial superiority. All right. Which needs to stop. All right. Because now you see the intricate workings where it's all connected. All right. So you can't tell the story. You can't delete any part of the story and get the same outcome. All right. So there would be no superiority of any article of that story. All right. But you have deeper awareness or deeper connection all the way to the state of all. And that's why you go back to where nature, all right, itself, it's not partial. All right. It just responds to the vibrations. Right. So John chapter 8, verses 23. That's why we don't get so arrogant, because I got melanin, so I could be a prick and a bad person. All right. Because you realize that it still comes with a certain responsibility. And you start to respect your place in all. So if you respect your place in all, there's no way for you to be abusing or feeling superior or inferior to anything or anybody. There's no room for superiority or inferiority complex. You just play your part. All right. So John chapter 8, verses 23. And he said unto them, ye are from beneath, I am from above. Ye are of this world, I am not of this world. Yes, there is a God, Allah Yahweh, who is up there above, and Muzyad Mutatalu, extraterrestrial, and that is all. All right. So Baba is saying there's nothing special about being from up there. You're just outside of terrestrial. And that's all. All right. Musbatu Sabians, when science examines the smallest particles to the expanding Kale Makwan, the omniverse, to this Wahu Makwan universe, they only find predictable natural rules called by some laws in action. All right. So the reality is that a universe anywhere will still hold the patterns, all right, for the omniverse from which it was pulled out of. All right. So for example, yes, I have my own flavor as a sister sitting over here. And then that sister has a whole different flavor. But the reality, there's a lot of predictable patterns of just existence in itself. All right. So there's going to be overlapping things. And that's why you can look at roadmaps. And that's why you can read eyeballs and know what's going on with health. That's why you can look at hands and know what's going on. You can look at the behavior. If you take time enough to study the patterns, study yourself, then you start to see the patterns with all. Because there's no pattern that's natural that doesn't exist in some shape or form in another way. All right. So now you have, by mastering one thing, you have opened the key to possibly mastering all things. All right. And that's through just mastering the pattern. All right. So even still on earth, it has its own flavor, but there's very predictable patterns that you could even talk about, let's say risk or wherever. All right. So Musbatu Sapiens, when science examines the smallest particles to the expanding Kale Makwanats, omniverse, to this Wahu Makwan universe, they only find predictable natural rules called by some laws in action. All right. So every density has its own rules. Every dimension, there's a dimension in every rule. So it depends on when you talk about the mutation of cells, that's going to be the same everywhere. All right. Or for all cells on this dimension. And then you can say that the mutation of a electron might be different. All right. But it's going to have the same rules. All right. So once you get onto that density, then you could affect the rest of that density. So in fact, what they find is intelligent design. Just consider the human ayan eye. Could such a complexity evolve without a designer or designers? Now, scientists are able to examine structures, small and large, near and distant, from quarks, DNA to Quakers and whole galaxies. All right. So Baabaa says the way that they're doing it is not necessarily from traveling to this long distance galaxy. What they'll do is they'll study the quarks, which is something smaller than when you start breaking up the molecules, and you go beneath the molecules, and you could just break down the molecules. You end up in quarks, Zs, and what's the other one? Quarks, Zls, and there's another word too. But you study the DNA, you study the quasars, and you can tap into whole galaxies. All right, both near and distance, both on the macro scale, so big that you'll never get there in this lifetime, to the micro scale that is so small that you can't see it, but you know it's there by the very patterns of life. All right. So 539. And what do you see with those Ayantui eyes? They see a demonstration of perfection and design. That is good for Taro Fatah, natural nature. Yet also they see imperfection and misdesign, and that is bad tem for Taro Fatah, unnatural nature. All right. So they see things that are perfectly aligned with nature, and then they see things that malfunction, and that would be of unnatural nature. Gayura, created by those made by unnatural measures. Grafting, tampering with natural nature, tampering with genomes and kalalat, cells, tissues is not so good of an idea. It's a complex thing. All right. Because by the time because everything is fine-tuned for everything else. So you may say, okay, I'm going to tinker this a little bit. You didn't even consider all the 99 other things that you threw off. And I remember when Baabaa explained that his angioedema, because Baabaa suffers from a genetic disorder. That's what it is. It's called hereditary angioedema. Hereditary angioedema. And I was looking that up. But there's all kinds of ways people get edema, because you can get angioedema through allergic reaction, and there's different kinds of angioedema. Then you can get hereditary angioedema. That means that it was passed to him in his genetics. All right. And Baabaa said that that proves that he's an extraterrestrial, because he said angio for angel and edema, blood, angel blood. All right, hereditary angel blood. And so many people are like, I want angel blood too. The funny thing is, he was like, later on, he's like, I'm trying to breathe this extraterrestrial blood out of you. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad. I do know that Baabaa's not, I know Baabaa's taller than 5'4". All right, as well. So, same circumstances. I don't know. I'm just saying, So how Bob broke down angioedema, angel blood. All right. So now let's look back. So sometimes things function just outside of what's conducive to natural nature. So you have within all of us at this time, all of us have been affected, all right, by all these different alien genetics, grafting, and different things that has happened. All right. And That's why we're tinkering ourselves back to natural nature. We're getting back. That's why one of the uh, one of the lines in Paa Taraq is return to yourselves. Another thing in another chant, it says, divine ancestors, please protect me from being changed. And when you say mutated, all right, and now you becoming from natural nature to unnatural nature, all right. This happens at various degrees, all right. So now you see when things don't work in perfection, some form of unnatural nature has touched it. So now let's go back. 539. And what do they see with those ayantui eyes? They see a demonstration of perfection in design. That is good. Fatah, natural nature. Yet also they see imperfection and misdesign. That is bad. Fatah, unnatural nature. Kayoya, created by those made by unnatural measures. Grafting, tampering with natural nature, tampering with genomes, and kalayat, cell tissue is not so good of an idea. It's a complex thing. 541. Kalayat, cells are complex information from outformation, processing machine compromising nines of thousands of proteins arranged in uniquely intricate algorithms of communication, all synthesis. All right. So they're not accounting for you have nines of thousands of proteins arranged in intricate algorithms. All right. Something is going to be off. The human body contains 99 trillion kalayat cells, if not defective or deformed. All right. So we're talking about a full being. Now, there's beings with less, beings might have more. All right. Because there's some people who have copies of certain things that shouldn't be there. Certain people have gene deletions. All right. So now the human body should have 99 trillion cells. All right. If there's no defect, all right, or deformity. All right. 542. And each of the 99 trillion stores outformation that becomes information in DNA code process and replicates it in 3 forms of RNA and thousands of supporting enzymes exquisitely supplies the system with Nishat energy and seals it in semi-permeable phospholipid membranes. All right. So we're going into the semi-permeable phospholipid membranes. All right. We're going into those crystals. They're also known as crystals. All right. So it becomes energy centers. All right. And I remember where it is. I was like, wow, when I ate meat, those are the parts of the animal I like to eat. And those parts are high with the semi-permeable phospholipid membranes, which is the connective tissues and the bone marrow, all right, and other places as well. All right. So you can store that information. All right. So the energy to empower the body, all right, because energy transforms. So it could transform into growth, it could transform into movement, it could transform into something creative. All right. So you get that energy, now you feel inspired. You know what, let me go do this. Or you get that energy, your body moves. Or you say, I get that energy, and now you start growing. All right. So, and then what you don't need, all right, because sometimes you get an abundance of energy and it's stored and it seals it in a semi-permeable phospholipid membrane. All right. That's in the fats, something to do with fat, because I just know by lipid, something in the somewhere. But I know Baabaa explained that it's the connective tissues. So this, not by some Ka spirit, just saying, and it is. So that doesn't happen. So Bible said this is not just by some random spirit somewhere, all right, with a penis just floating around in space saying be and it is, and let there be, or in the beginning was one word. And as to just take a hand of dust and create a complex human being is only his story. All right, that's not how we grew. All right, that's not our beginning, because we don't start with flesh and blood, as Bible says. We start with the very the movers behind the flesh and blood. They started with flesh and blood. All right, and even if you want to go before those, because they weren't the first people to graft. But even when Tahuti was grafting in Tamaray, all right, because the Anunnaki still needed to go to Tamaray to even work on what they were doing. It was not an easy process. Tahuti had already did that. But we don't start with Tahuti grafting us and say, oh, Tahuti shaped us. Tahuti was doing it because Tahuti grafted the baboon using the simian and the dog. They says it was Tahuti. All right. So yeah. So this is not by some Ka spirit just saying be and it is, or let there be, or in the beginning was one word. Just as to take a handful of dust and create a complex human body is only his story, his Za'am, religious legends and fictions and Kazabats, lies. All right. And it's so funny because people, when we talk about, it's funny because some brothers are having a hard time with the mitochondria, you know, and how men are actually afterwards of the female. All right. And how some people, they keep harassing me in my inbox. I'm telling you, I'm getting harassed. But about how I dress, or I shouldn't be sitting up here, or a brother should be sitting next to me. I'm like, well, can brothers teach women? So why can't women just sit up and read a scroll, you know? But it's funny how they were taken aback, and they use in the beginning of our chants where you see Baba breaks down and he says, Nahut's Gadat, Nahut's Mugdad Badet Patah, Nahut's Muklas Badet Yanun. No God except Patah, no Savior except Yanun. And they like to show Patah in the sky with his erect penis. And then you see the men falling down and creation growing. All right. And then they say, yeah, that's what we deal with, right? And I'm like, that's an incomplete story though. All right. Because why are you stopping there? Why you don't tell the whole story? All right. Because now you're taking your Muslim mind and you're coloring our culture with your Muslim mind. It's like when it reminds me of the Europeans, they saw us like this to the sun. They say, oh, look at them Egyptians worshiping the sun. All right. And it's like in the reality, they're lying on us by telling an incomplete story. Because in reality, when we're talking about the ejaculation, we're talking about a bang, and it's not about the penis. It's about the ejaculation. As we know, when you read, what's the name of that book? The Lotus of Life. And it talks about female ejaculation, and that females can ejaculate too. All right. So it's about that explosion. All right. Can take it back to a type of Big Bang. All right. So it's not about the penis itself, it's about that action. And then on top of it, when you say patah, all right, you say it, the one who opens, all right. And then you have a thing of opening, which could be your nose, your mibtah, all right. And we know that it is the woman who opens the way from one dimension to the next dimension for life to come through. So you're just using how nature plays out in people's personal lives. And as a man, you should see yourself in Patah as well. As a woman, I see myself in Patah as well. I see my responsibility. And it's just life, all right, and being able to respond, all right, and being potent, all right. Men shouldn't be the only ones who are potent, all right. So you have the prime movers of this universe, all right, and beyond. So I'm just saying how it's really hard for us because we have all these concepts and we don't even realize. And I was saying, well, that wouldn't make sense because as um, as animists, all right, our physical reality isn't random. Our physical reality is a direct correlation of the energy that's moving it forward. So you can take what's happening physical and follow the same pattern into what's happening that you can see. All right. So it's not, they should reflect each other. And it's a lot of cognitive dissonance. All right. So the same way that there's not some being saying, oh, be, and it is. Why would Ptah just be standing and ejaculating into nothing? It was saying he was self-made. All right. No mother and no father. Because we're talking about the existence before flesh and blood came onto the scene. All right. So things aren't born yet. Bobby explained how that's happening because you're not just, things are growing out of itself. And that's why you have the chant. All right. So you can use a male body to demonstrate that. You could use a female body to demonstrate that. You're just talking about the movements of life, which should be evidence. It should be evident in the creatures that are growing from creation. All right. If it's a natural being. All right. So, and for so long, I read another book called Our Bodies and Our Minds. It was written in 1970. And in that book, people went around and took a survey of the average woman. The average woman in the 70s never had an orgasm. Most women didn't have orgasms. That's why they had to, Baba said, man, I had to even write a book on how uh, to have sex, so, and it's not ladylike because you know why? In this culture of the Adamites, they went and took the woman, all of which they chose, and rape is acceptable, all right? And it's not about what the woman's going through, which is very important what the woman's going through, because if it's a hormonal thing, all right, because hormones are very important. As we know, our glands are linked to the different dimensions in your glands, and your hormones is what tells your body what to do, all right? It's your information centers. And if the woman who's growing the child, all right, you can have two good genetics that come together, but the woman, she's out of her mind or something traumatic is going on with her, her hormones are off, she will affect that child, all right? So who would have thought to do that? A conquering being, all right, an unnatural being, all right, because it's in the it's not in the best interest of anybody coming through a womb to come through that circumstance, all right? So that's why we value the female, uh, what is it called? Orgasm. It's very valued, all right, for a specific reason, so certain things can be activated, all right? Because that's where we all have to pass through. So it's a different being that comes through certain gateways could bring through different type of beings. So at one point we will read the Laws of Life in this group together. All right, which breaks all that down, that I'm not making it up. All right. So we're on page 65. All right. So let's read 543 one more time. So this is not by some Ka spirit just saying be and it is, or let there be, or in the beginning was one word, or just take a handful of dust and create the complex human body is only his story, or let's just masturbate into the air. All right, I'm throwing that in there. His religious legends, fictions, Qasabats, lies. You have the cell membrane, all right? This is the permeability, all right? Semi-permeability, phospholipid membrane, all right? Semi-permeable allows small substances to pass freely. Large substances must pass through channels and lipid valley layer, all right? So you have a a nice lipid layer that protects, right, keeps everything. You have your lipid layer, and you have substances must pass through channels. So if you have a large substance, you see this channel right here. A larger substance will have to go through there, but small substances can go through, all right, or pass freely through the semi-permeable. So you can have energy stores, and the energy stores get locked in here, all right, and that's why you see it's like a crystal, because it can store, all right. So 544. Pa matasa. Pa matasa, or mutasa. Pa mutasa, the 9 original beings, Nataru, overseers, who rule the 9 dwellers, were originally in different intervals of Wakut's time. Once Wakut's time was born, at that very moment. Yet since original deities, all right, so we're talking about Atum, we're talking about the Agdads, all right, Atum, Nunet, Nun, Het, He, Het, Ket, Kiket, and Amun, Amunet, right, from Atum Ray as the head, all right. So since original deities, Nataru overseers became Bashar flesh and spirit, or Ba'a flesh from spirit once grown, never ceased to exist, only change in some form. All right. So you existed for much longer than our physical eyes see, in the form of energy. All right. And it only changes in some form or by a formula. All right. So you start putting this together with that, more complex beings. Long as the Wahoo Makwan universe lasts, the metamorphosis, change, or transmute composition and form become human beings. All right. So these different states and conditions giving birth to the conditions that, first off, before you can have flesh, you have to have water. All right. So you see, but before you have water, you have to have hydrogen. All right. Before you have hydrogen, you have to have what is it? You have to have those conditions, because now we're going into metaphysics. All right. So hydrogen is even giving birth to. Then you have helium gives birth to, becomes fire. All right. Or helium together, light. All right. That spark. And water. All right. Then flesh comes much later. All right. So human is flesh. Mukwan being is spirit and animal. Likewise, at different intervals of Wakut's time, through an egg and sperm process, regaining their original shape and form and composition with each birth. That is not random. Exceptions now take place, deformed, conjoined Mukwanu beings, and change of form by tampering with Fatah, natural nature, divine rules. All right. So when you don't respect the rules of nature, you're going to get some type of, there's going to be a consequence for that. Yet you, Nagad Nadu Negroids, have sun genes, and like the suns and all other scientifically living Mukwanu beings, the beginning of evolution and Tamwat, death. The Basharvu Damam, flesh and blood, deities die. All right? The flesh and blood deities die. That's why we don't worship the Anunnaki. They were born, they have sex just like everybody else. All right? And they have mothers, fathers. Ethereal scientists or scientific. All right? Now, when I say worship, because I was looking up the word worship, and that's why I don't really like English so much. But worship, it just goes back to be worthy. Ship is like a state of being or relationship or a state. And worth or worship, a worthy state. All right. So the reality is, okay, if you want to deem something worthy, all right, because I'm into worship. Like, I like to value people. I like to be valued. All right. But not in a sense that you're less than or inferior. All right. So that's the game of the English language. Because when they say you need to worship me, it means you're nothing and I'm everything. All right. So, Bashar-huu Damam, flesh and blood deities die. Ethereal scientific Mawat's death. So becomes subject to suffering as Fatah Fatah, natural nature, is tampered with. They die a physical Mawat's death in all forms, Tawur, yes, including physical death. All original deities of Bashar-huu Damam, flesh and blood, were Kamen, black in color, and grew generally Wabar, kinky hair on their heads. By Fatah Fatah, natural nature, some became green or blue due to bad Hawaii air. Here and when they descended to Mata earth. All right. So a lot of people love to say I was originally green. The original people, no. The original color on the planet was green. All right. Because the blackness, that's how it interacted over here. All right. But in your original state, you're black. All right. And then you'll interact with the various places. So on earth, you're green. And then in time, as the chemicals on earth change, we start rusting. All right, from green to another color. All right. So your original state is black. All right. So Fatah Fatah, natural nature, some became green or blue due to bad Hayat air here when they descend to Mata earth. Yet originally Kamen black for two main reasons. 552. One, the sun, which fertilized their mother's egg by ethereal lightning, ray, or beam, has Wabar kinky here called floculi. And two, when the mother first orbited from the sun, Reye and Reyetat, billions of years ago, Reyetat was in flame, and her flames inflamed Pa Makab Mata, the planet Earth, which finally cooled off and down enough for other life forms and activities. All right. So you know that suns give birth to planets. So even the planet itself is made up of stardust that has cooled down and solidified. All right. And now it's cool enough for now the right conditions are for something else to grow from it, another state. All right. However, sun genes of 9 ether in its atmosphere was so dense and potent and strong that anyone who could survive in it had to have sun genes inside strong enough to offset the balance of the sun genes outside. All right. So that's true today in the sense of let's just say you have sunscreen. Let's use sunscreen on Caucasian people. All right. So being melanated, that's a natural form of SPF or sun protection factor. All right. And based on how much melanin, you will have more sun protection factor than others. All right. Or some have more, some have less. All right. So for example, let's just say you see something on packaging that says SPF 15. All right. So it tells you how long it will work before you burn. So you could stay out in the sun for maybe let's say an hour and a half. Now you have SPF 50. SPF 50 lets you stay out in the sun for about 8 hours. All right. Now, that means after your melanin. So, for example, let's just say, as a Nagad Nadu, if I stay out in the sun hot enough, or I lose enough ozone layer, I probably could burn too. You know, I've never burnt, but I'm just, Actually, I did burn once. But let's just say your health is good and your health is good. You can be slated to, with the sun, you may have a natural SPF 50 burn built in your skin, SPF 50 plus. So you would need to be constantly exposed to that intensity of the sun. It would take, and you know that the sun has cycles. So you would need to be in the same amount of sun for let's say a good 10 hours before you burn. But that never happens because the sun never stays in one spot. It always recycles. All right. But for a Caucasian person, they're outside for 20 minutes and they're all burnt and blistered up. All right. So I was using that as an example saying that your melanin, it catches up to the sun. That's why you get a little darker. Some of us already, they stay dark. But let's just say some of us fall on the type 3, where we get lighter without sun. Type 4 stays nice and dark. I see you, Zamal. I see you on.
Let's talk.
Is stars made out of stars?
Say Rahubat first.
Oh, Rahubat.
Rahubat, Zamal, and Emmanuel. Wait to hear from you.
Are stars made out of stardust, or are stars made out of something else?
Are stars made out of something else, or is it also made out of stardust?
Tua.
That's a good question. So suns are made up of mostly hydrogen and helium. All right. And then they have a life cycle. So when a sun actually it starts to give birth to itself, then sometimes they collapse or they could explode, and then it would beam off, and then it can turn into another sun sometimes, and it could reaflame. Or so some suns can be from stardust, and then so it would be, yes, some suns do come from stardust, but mostly they come from hydrogen and helium, all right, which is on your elemental chart as the first 2 elements of hydrogen and helium. All right. But everything else does come from everything physical is from stardust. All right.
Wow.
And they interact with each other. Different suns, they do send off energy to each other. They feed off of each other too. All right. So it's all interconnected. That's a very good question. All right. So
Towel hat.
yes, and Tower Hat for asking your good question. So yes, so now when you have type 4, that they stay nice and dark. All right. So when you burn, that's your immune system no longer able to keep up. All right. So you see that Africans, for example, they can keep up with the environment as it is now. And some beings, they have a hard time keeping up, but they can just go in the shade. They'll be okay. All right. But at one time, the sun was even more intense than it is now. So you had to have strong sun genes. All right. Some of us are sun genes, even though we have it for now. It's good. But back then, some of us probably wouldn't even be able to exist in that type of environment. Only the strongest. All right. So let's read 553. Sun genes of 9 ether in its atmosphere was so dense and potent and strong that anyone who could survive it had to have sun genes inside strong enough to offset the balance of the sun genes outside. All right. So you had to be like you had to be similar to the energy that's coming from in to match it coming out. So that's why you get your melanin, because your melanin is actually it's responding as part of your immune system, and it goes into drive, and then it wakes up things, it wakes up dormant things in your body so it can keep up and keep alert to the environment when it gets very hot. All right. And if you can keep up, you're fine. If you can't keep up, you're going to be in trouble. All right. So 554. So the sun genes inside the Nataru overseers of Basharu Damam, flesh and blood, Atum. All right. I'm just going to say their names. Atum, Shashash, Tafaf Natat, Sabab, Natat, Asar, Arashtat, Satak, Nabatat, Hatat. All right. Pa Mutasa. The Enneads were so strong and Sakema powerful from the fire called nine ether and the water contents therein. All right. So the strong was the sun that we were getting was very strong. And also the contents within the water was very potent as well. All right. So the contents therein. Nunet. Hot, ha and ha het. Hatat. That's many. Ha hatat. Ka kikat. Amuntat. Pa mutama. The Agdads, and they birthed Kamem Kashar, black skin, and also Kamem Mabad, black hair. So they were called Makmam, black, Makmamu, Salau, black race. All right. So at one time, the skin was black. Because people like to say, no, there's no black people. Everybody's brown. Ain't no such thing as black. At the root, you had to be black. Black. All right. The potency was that strong. So those type of potent environments, it gave birth to the most potent, all right, design. All right. Now what we have today, we watered down a lot. And our environment also, it got a little weaker. All right. So we could relax. The genes relaxed a lot. Sun heat genes naturally instill in the direct the sun heat genes naturally and still in the direct descendants of these original Nadaru. That's the overseers whose prosperity is now called Pa Nagad Nadu. The Negro race, also called Pa Makmam Salah, the black race. All right. So that potency is still inside you, because at some point we're going to go back to we're going back to a potent time as well. All right. Although you're going to go through cycles, but you're just existing in, let's just say, a dormant state or a sleep state. All right. In a more relaxed environment. When the environment gets permeated again, those genes wake up again. All right. So you have the sun cycle. And you're going to need them sun heat genes. You're going to need them. All right. As sun heat genes reaches the skin surface of Pa Nagad Nadu Salau, the Negro race, or Pa Makmam Salau, the black race, they burn oxygen and turn the skin black or darker, blacker than it already is at Taldud birth. Yet those of Tem Fatar, unnatural nature, without sun heat genes, non-melanin, Mukradu children burn outside, they get cancer and die. They are Pa Kakasnadu Salau, the Caucasian race, also called Pa Laden Salau, the white race. The rays of the sun will kill them, as the waters of Afafreika will kill them. All right. So in reality, when your immune system is on point, and as African people, you can go under the sun, no problem. You can, yes, Kosi.
What did you mean? What does it mean by the waters of Africa will kill them? Why?
Yeah, I was explaining that. So I'm going to explain that. So I forgot where you say you're located, Kosi. Which country?
Cameroon.
Huh?
Cameroon.
Cameroon. Okay. Okay. Tower Head. So one thing that they tell people, Americans, let's just say, they tell us not to drink the water because it can possibly kill or get you very sick. However, the African that's in good health, all right, he can stand under the sun and he'll be fine. He can go and drink the waters and swim in the waters and be fine. All right. But the reality is that's not true for the Caucasian race because and they go to other countries, they go in there and it's gonna do them it's gonna take them out. All right. That's why they have to get so many vaccines and this and this and that. All right. Now for us, we live like the Caucasian, so we have the immune system like the Caucasian. So I wouldn't call us as of now. I wouldn't call us Naga Nadu if we're not living under natural nature, because we're gonna operate more like the Caucasus Nadu. All right.
Huawei.
Yeah. So like for myself, being deprived as well, I also respect like where I am, and I take the time, you know. But I've never had any problem. Like I go to Africa, I go to the Caribbean, I eat the food, and I just, I even take a sip sometimes of the water just to acclimate myself. Never had a problem. But at the same time, I'm very um I'm very mindful of what I'm doing before I get there too. Because I'm like, I have to do more natural things before I go into a natural environment. Because I've been in such an unnatural environment with some of my unnatural genes. So I had to respect everything about myself, as also I'm transforming back to my natural state. All right. But yes, the sun, the rays of the sun will kill them, as the waters of Africa will kill them. All right. You go ahead, any country you want, go take a shower, you'll be fine. All right, go swim, you're fine. Go into salt water, you're good. All right. They are newborn creatures of that fatal, unnatural nature, made by tampering with genes. Sun genes are hereditary sun factors of natural nature. All right. So natural nature gave you those sun genes because your genes is a direct relationship and reaction to natural nature. All right. So that's your hereditary birthright. All right. So your sun genes are hereditary sun factor of natural nature, and they are stronger in 9 ether. All right. So right now, let's just say we were in 6 ether. They're already strong, but in 9 ether. So we haven't even seen anything yet because we're still out of the drowsiness of the moon cycle. All right. So we still have the energies, and we're not even at its full potency. And that's actually a form of ashuk, like, because you don't just switch the light on. That's not how nature works. It goes through its season and its process so we can raise ourselves in time. So the reality, we haven't even seen anything yet, because technically we're at our weakest state now, and we're still strong compared to others. It will only get stronger in the 9 ether time. All right. So sun genes are hereditary sun factors, natural nature, and they are stronger in 9 ether. Why? An Afafreka, African-born person can travel to any part of the earth, eat or drink, bathe, swim, and lay in direct rays, the rays of the sun, and are protected by the original Modad Tat's mother and Modad father, Reye Tat and Reye, called Ray, Roy, 9 ether descendants. All right. So notice that Baabaa said that the Africans who are born in Africa are fine to go everywhere, and they will be fine because they're being born in their 9 ether environment. All right. Now, those of us who aren't, it probably would not be wise to just, it might not be true for us. We might have to work ourselves up to that. All right. Even though we might have the same, because you might have an African family, then they move here, and then they have their little African child that's not in Africa, not born in Africa, that's been partaking in everything of this environment. So it dumbed down the genes just a little bit. The child may have to build itself back up. All right. So they on any land, 561, they on the other hand are them, Satu Akak, 6 Ether descendants who are weak genetically. All right. So genetically we are strong. It's our habits that can affect the genetics. Our habits can activate our genetics in our favor. On the other hand, 6 Ether descendants are genetically weak. All right. Show me the first person on Makamata, planet Earth, such as the Musnanu or the Sands, who have the most genetic material unmixed of anyone on this planet, or of any planet, or of any planets. All right. So now we have to give the Sands people more respect, because some of us love to be like, I'm an extraterrestrial, I'm superior. What did Baba just say? Baba said that they have more genetic material than anyone on this planet or on any planet. All right. So when you have the original beings, wherever they're going from their original planets as Africans, all right, or the original sands. So the original sands of Earth, original sands of wherever they're from. All right. Those are the ones who are genetically in tune, no tampering. All right. And they didn't get the most material because of being mixed. They have the most unmixed. All right. Because some people say, well, I want to duplicate the sand, so I'm gonna go and pick up the genetics of everybody else. That's gonna be a confused being. Whereas a sands person will have all that information, and it's not the result of being mixed. All right. So I will show you the growers of the planet and their bashar wu damab, flesh and blood, and why they are the lawan color they are, and look the way they look. All right. So not just that, Baba said I could show you everybody the planet and explain to you why they look the way they do. It's all environment or surroundings, the conditions. And if they can't stand out in the open on the planet, then they are naturally not from it. All right. So if you're having a hard time existing on that planet, it shows you're not from it. Or were made by tampering with fatah natural nature, such as the Pa Mulban Salah, the white race. All right. So now that explains a little bit of Baba's genetic condition. All right. Baba says he has hereditary and angioedema and hereditary angel blood. He says that proves he's not from here. All right. So, okay, maybe he doesn't have maybe he doesn't have unnatural genetics, but still his genes are probably better suited for another environment than this one. All right. Because a sans person with no tampering, they would not have any type of swelling of the throat. They would be operating perfectly, all right, to the environment that they're in, that they would be suited perfectly in alignment for where they are. All right. So each race was made to move to an environment for them to survive. However, the white race left Marap or Europe and came down out of the caves and hillside to take over, and now nature is killing them off again. All right. So nature put them in the hillside. They came out of the caves to go tamper with everybody. Nature is saying back to the caves. Well, this is not the rest of the world is not conducive for your genetics. All right. This environment is not conducive, especially now we're going into the sun cycle. Everything is heating up. Those genetics don't stand a chance. Just as 6,000 years ago, when Laban, that is Cain or Canaan, son of Ham, was born albino, and Lain cursed with Barasi, leprosy, the Mukradu, children of Zoroaster, that is Noach or Noah, used to be afraid of Canaan because he was pale white and had pale light eyes. So the Chamem Kasher, the black skin, Mukradu children were frightened of him, and they would cast miskayats, stones at him. So he always lived outside the camp. Once he grew up and took wives, only one, his half Shakaktat sister, Shala, was black. The other three were Shangara and Anakites. That was one. Then you had Hildar, that is Horite. And then you had Hetara, who was a Fugleroid. And they were all Mukasu, Caucasians. So he was shunned and chased and exiled up into Haran, then up into the mountains and caves of Marab, Europe, Turkey, Cappadocia, caves in Derenkuya or Kuyu. All right, you can look up those caves today. The caves in Turkey called Cappadocia. All right, it's spelled Cappadocia, and it is in a place called Derinkuyu. All right, and they are, and it shows that people were living in those caves. It's been a while since I looked it up. I can't remember if people still live there. All right. The Canaanites' banishment to the Caucasus Mountains began from these Barayats, lands of the Canaanites. One known today as Lebanon, from Laban. Those were the lands best suited for their disease of barasi, leprosy, and its effects by the direct rays of mashmash, the sun and heat. All right. Now today we have modern buildings, all right, which would be like modern day caves, all right, where you can put a little AC on, because AC is very soothing to skin conditions. It's very soothing to the leprosy, because it's not just the rays, it's also the heat. It flares up their leprosy. So if anybody have ever been into a cave, some of those caves are naturally cool, all right, and dark, all right. So that'll be conducive for somebody that's suffering from those issues, all right. So that's why they ended up over there, because they needed to be in a place that would be more conducive for their design if they want to live. All right. So the Canaanites' banishment to the Caucasus Mountains began from these Barayats, lands of the Canaanites, one known today as Lebanon, from Laban. Those were the lands best suited for their disease, barasi, leprosy, and its effects by the direct rays of the mashmash, sun, and heat. Yet they came out from Marab, Europe, to other lands, had known rakak, knowledge of what would happen to them all over Wakut's time, all right? So they knew what would happen to them. So what did they do? So they would rape Maratu, women of other races, every 100 years, before 400 years, to sustain their Yakasat genes by race mixing. Yet they spread their sexually transmitted diseases to all others. You see now the world over. All right. Yet their 6,000-year dominion or rule ended in the year 2000 AD. From then, they will fade from Sakam power. And as their book of Revelation says, fallen is fallen, and their last wish is to bring you down with them. All right. Because if I can't go, you can't either. All right. You have some people in the tribe like that too. They want to take you to the limits of where, listen, this is a genetic doctrine. Some people's genetics go further than others. Mine may not be the oldest genetics either. And I'm okay with that. That's why we read the scrolls together. So you can make your own direct link And it doesn't matter if somebody been around for 10 years, 20 years. All right. If your genetics are more potent than them, you're going to connect a different way. So you make sure you make that connection, because people want you to fall in line with their limits. All right. So you don't allow people to do that to you. So 574. Yet their 6,000-year dominion or rule ended in the year 2000 AD, from when they will fade from Sakam power. And their book of Revelation says fallen is fallen, and their last wish is to bring you down with them. Some people don't want you to see them, you having what they don't see for themselves. All right. Most people are not gracious, whether Caucasian or Nagaru at this time. All right. So especially them, they know their time is over. And now they want to tell you race doesn't matter because their race is about to not matter. Matter means to something solid. Their race is about to not matter. So now they want to tell you race in general does not matter. All right. All right. So 575. Muspatu Sabians, as stated earlier in this scroll, at first, there was no lustful organic sexual act or intercourse. So when the Wakut time came for the Muskasu people of Bashar-Wu, Damam, flesh and blood, called Mukmamu blacks, to start copulating or having sex with each other, it was originally only to give birth, to procreate, not for recreation, pleasures, lust, or perversion. All right. So first existence, there's no intercourse because there's no flesh and blood bodies. All right. Then you have different stages. Then we start to copulate, because at one time we didn't copulate. We just gave birth to ourselves. Then we start copulating. It's not about pleasure. It's just, all right. But we're giving birth to more complex emotions too. All right. For self-pleasure. All right. So only to give birth to, it was only originally to give birth, to procreate, not for recreation, pleasures, lust, or perversion. 577. The first offsprings, the first offspring were always twins. The first to come out was the Ashash. That's the female, then followed by the Ashash. That's the male. It's supposed to say Ashash Tat. All right. So the first out was the Ashash Tats, the female, then followed by the Ashash male, the Shakak Tat sister, and Shakak brother. The beginning of the new evolution of Mawut's death and change in nature, you then had born twins, 2 females, and on to 2 Ayashu males. And as this weekend, all right, so first it was male and female. So first it was just female, no sex. And then it became male and female as twins at the same time with sex. Then it started to break down even further to a set of twins, 2 females, and then later break down even more, 2 males. All right. Then the originals began to birth 1 offspring, female and or male. All right. So now we're not even having twins anymore. So it's both gender twins. First it was just 1 child, then it was both genders. Then it was one or the other as twins. And then just 1 child. All right. And then by mixing with unnatural nature, grafted humanoids were deformed. All right. So first perfect being, then the being split up into 2 as a male and female. And then you see sometimes it's a male as 2, then sometimes female as 2. Then you start to see the beings are still good, but it's just 1 coming out. And then the last state was when you have birth defects, when we start going with unnatural beings. So you had Tayut's life and Tamut's death. Unnatural lust and sex acts was passed on to you, Nagad Nadu Negroids, by way of Caucasus Nadu Caucasoids, who while in the cave copulated with mukmatu canines and other huanu animals. All right. So some of their sex habits, because they practice bestiality, was from the acts that they were doing with some of the animals. All right. Called bestiality, as recorded in their on their own walls. You see it. And then also in their books. Called bestiality as recorded in their own holy books of their history in Leviticus chapter 18, verses 23. Neither shall thy lie with any beast to defile thyself therein. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast and lay down there too. It is confusion. All right. So they're giving them rules because that's what they're doing. All right. Yet the very act of mouth-to-mouth kissing in exchange of saliva, which contains some of each person's or beast DNA, was introduced to the Qasas-huu Caucasoids by the canines or the mukmatu canines, which licked the mouths of each other as a sign of affection. And the Qasas-huu Caucasoids passed this act to other races to this day. Pa Qasas-huu Salau, the Caucasoid race, keep their canine in their muklanud homes, bed, allow them to kiss, lick, and exchange saliva and DNA, a genetic kiss. All right. So all that licking on the face, I saw they had the baby laying down, the dog's licking all over the face, and people are like, why are you letting the dog lick the face? And they're like, oh, it helps build the child's immune system. No, in actuality, the child's getting some of that dog DNA. That's why if we have animals, we don't allow the animals around the child in the first place. But we especially don't allow the child to lick the animal to lick the child. All right. And that's why. All right. And a lot of Caucasians, like before, back in the day, all right, I'll say more than 20 years ago. I just remember, like, I knew a lot of black people with dogs, but the dogs were always outside, all right? And they were not treated like humans. That's why I remember the dogs did the dog thing. I remember this guy, he loved dogs. He had his dog kennel. He threw the dog some type of treats every now and then. The dogs came out, ran around, lived as a pack, lived amongst each other. The humans, they were not allowed in the house. The humans did the human thing, and the humans were in the house. Now and Caucasians, I remember watching Dennis the Menace as a child. I used to watch that cartoon, and Dennis the Menace used to take baths with his dog, and I was like, that was so weird, because I didn't know any black person, even though they had animals that they lived like that. So someone's knocking, I'm ignoring it. All right. Made me lose my train of thought. Oh yeah. So now we're doing that. All right. We're living like them. The dog is in the house. We're buying clothes for the dog. All right. And letting the dog go in the playpen and the crib in the child's bed and all that stuff. All right. When in actuality, Caucasians, they actually have sex with the animals. And another testimony that they have sex with animals, because for the longest time they said that black people and other races, they said that they were less than human. That's what they said on paper in their own records. They said that we were less than human. But that didn't stop them from having sex with us when they said we were akin to animals. So that's a testimony that they have sex with animals. They're okay with it. All right. By their own admission. I'm not saying we're animals. All right. It didn't stop them. All right. So for each open for mouth kiss or sexual intercourse, you exchange your DNA and that person and they with you. And you bind your Muslafu ancestors into your own for 4 generations back. This does and it can affect your nature as well as your health and your actions for better or worse. All right. So that doesn't just stop with humans, that stops. That also goes into animals. All right. So once Hamam Nadu, humanoids felt the pleasures of sex, they lost their kahed, akal, divine mind, and lusted, and more defects and deformed mukradu children were ladud born into the Tapa world by the weakening of the genes. And when two elders copulate and give birth, the elder of the person or the weaker of the genes, the more chance of the Qara child with Down syndrome and extra mikdab chromosomes, which is a back step in evolution, as humanoids have 46 chromosomes and simians have 47 chromosomes. All right. So Down syndrome is a step back. All right. Going back to animal DNA. All right, 585. The same way by sex with ape man, mixing your seed with Qasas-huu or Caucasoids who were mixed, grafted with Mukmatu canines, Mukzaror, that's porcines, and Mukwafu simians by their makers. Once your Mukrad child is exposed to sexual pleasure, you lose control of them. Their Akal mind is changed forever. A new mixed person is formed inside her or him forever. All right. So that's why once that child starts having sex, it alters the state of that child. It's like, for example, a good example. Let's just take sex in children. All right. Let's use a woman, for example. Did you know that when a woman gets pregnant, there's a part of her brain that gets activated that is not activated in women who've never been pregnant? So in reality, there's a part of her that turns on that was never on before. All right. So the same thing. So it's not like it ever, you always have that brain afterwards. So once you have sex, there's certain things inside of a being that's activated. All right. So once you open that door, you don't unopen it. And giving birth or being pregnant, that's an example of how a woman's brain does change. All right. 587. They at that point have their own akal mind, desires, wants, and they start to plan what they think is best, fun, pleasurable for themselves. Natural sex becomes lust and urge. All right. So once the child visits their pleasure palace, so to speak, and they start having sex, they start to say, no, it's about my desires. It's not about what my mom and dad is saying. That's why it's best and very important to educate and start speaking to your children from very young while they're still your children, because in reality, you have more influence over them. Once they start having sex, they distance themselves because they start to develop their own identity more so. All right. So, where sex was born urge, and of course, you began to have physical sex with each other. The more sex, the more ladad, birth, and the more birth, the more mawat, death. And the results of physical bashar hudamam, flesh and blood deities of opposite sex, unity here on earth. Ayashu, males, come down from Masa Orion. Ashahu, females, come down from Maspat Sirius, and they come together and birth female and male twins. Before they came, there was neuter gender Mukrano beings on planet Mushnashtat, that's hermaphrodites, and Muknashu, hermaphrodites, who came from the sea. The activity was their first offspring, who was Ladura, born in forms of eventually divided into 9 different natures of Nagad Nadu Negroids, who eventually divided into many other branches as you see it today. And from grafting and breeding was 6 different features of Caucasus Nadu Caucasoids, the Vikings. Paa Caucasus Nadu Salal, the Caucasian race, is grafted Makyai, creature made by mixing genes and their offspring, and the mongrel or mixed genes. All right, mongrel just means mingled up, mixed up. So mixed genes is in Hakak, actual fact, the result of miscegenation and all interracial mingling and mixing mentally, physically, spiritually, and sexually. All right, that's going to affect the many dimensions of a being, all the dimensions. This is the history of ethnic races, Hamam Nadu, humanoids, and on the subject, human races, and the fact of his story reverses the real story. All right. So this is the history of ethnic races, Hamam Nadu, humanoids, and on the subject, human races, and the fact of his story versus the real story. Fact about their origin and their actions as haters and the creators of human relationship problems, especially Salalism, racism. All right. So the most of the problems on the planet when it comes to interpersonally, it can be going back to them. Because when you see how their makers say go have dominion over others, you're now imposing and violating the natural nature of every other species. When you see natural uh natural nature's creatures say go have harmony, all right? And sometimes harmony is that's not for you, to each his own, all right? Because being in harmony also means that this creature does this, do not disturb it because I would disturb the ecology. This is for you and this is not for you. Or this is for you, that's not for you. So that's being in harmony. Having dominion meaning to have dominance, all right? So now you're stepping out of tune and out of place, all right? So 596, Musbatu Sabians first remember hates or enmity was put in the seed of Mudama Adamites, the Caucasus Nadu, by their own Lord God. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And being made in the image and after the likeness of the Elohim. In Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 27, it reads, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. They also have in their yakasa jealousy, right? Which you read in Exodus chapter 20, verses 5, which reads, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So hate and jealousy is in the Ladud, born in their genes by way of their makers. All right. I remember I had wrote Baba a letter about something that I hate. I was like, I hate this. I remember I had did something I was not happy about it. Like I hate that and I hate this. And then Baba said, we don't hate, that's not our nature. And he made me aware. All right. So it's like you can leave something alone because it's not conducive, and you're not leaving it alone because of hate. You're leaving it alone because of hakak, actual facts. Reality, we don't hate anything or anyone. All right. That's and if we do, that's not from our Nataru. That's from our Anunnaki genes. All right. That's where it's coming from. All right. So hate of other races, jealous of other races, and as their Lord God, Yahweh Elohim, they will order killing of others in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 13. And the Lord thy God hath delivered into thy hands, thou hast smite every male thereof with the edge of a sword. All right. So God tells them, all right, especially in Deuteronomy, and go ahead and kill for me. And then you could take every woman, all right, of your choice, go kill the men. That's what God gives them orders on how to do it. All right. So Numbers chapter 31, verses 7. And they warred against the Midianites, and the Lord commanded, as the Lord commanded Moses, and they slew all the males. Their Lord God ordered murdering and killings of others. So this is their nature from their makers, and that is racial hate by their tem fatado fatad, unnatural nature in their DNA. Pa Caucasus-Nadu Salau, the Caucasoid race, Adamites, Canaanites hate you, have enmity towards you, the Nagar Nadu Salau Negro race. They are jealous of you, and they will send others to kill you, or they will kill you and lie about it. In John chapter 8, verses 44 reads, Ye are from your father the devil, and the lust of your fathers ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, the father of it. 605. Their own Jesus pointed this out. That is Salalism, racism, his story. All right, that is his story. All right, going back to their very God. No one wins the war in racism. The first race will be the last race by Fataro Fatah, natural nature's rules. All right. So that's not racism. That's scientific fact. And the fact of the matter, if you know how you're put together, and you have genetics that give you natural nature genetics, you would be foolish to not value, all right, your design. So you shouldn't be wanting to sleep with unnatural nature beings. But that's not because of hate, all right? It's just wisdom. And with those hakakats, actual facts on racism, we must do what is in our own calm power to solve our own problems and stop depending on other ethnic races to solve our own problems for us. All right. So now that you know that there's hate flowing around the planet now in the genetics, and as the original movers, there's no one who can help you except yourself. All right. That's why we say the helping hand is at the end of your own arm. Stop looking to Belgium to help you. Stop looking to France, because the reality is they're just helping themselves. Stop looking to China. All right. Because the reality, they're just helping themselves. All right. Because they look out for themselves. Talking about the Chinese. While you looking out for somebody else to help you. All right. So 608. The more you depend on them for muklanat, homes, jobs, education, nakab health, legal nasad help, or to make you a star, famous, fortune, you put your life in the yadatats, the yadadats, hands of mukkasu people, ladun, born to hate and be jealous of you. All right. So you want the approval of the, and I guess we've all experienced that at some degree, whether it's a Caucasian or somebody, they show you that they don't like you, and you try to be accepted by them. And then you realize that's only going to make them abuse you, because you handing your power over to somebody who doesn't even care about you, right? Who not even just doesn't care about you. They don't, by their very makeup, they don't like you, and they're jealous of you, all right? So they will never help or heal you, only their own. Because in fact, the Celtic, with a K, S, or C, Salalu races are the racial problems. And also now they have their own racial problems as of the year 1960s, when their own Makradu children decided they did not want the Hadab culture they were offered by their leaders and rebelled to become what you see them looking like and acting like today. All right. So their own children turned on them. And even today, okay, just because they turn on each other doesn't mean they like you. All right. They don't like their parents, don't mean they like you. And as you see, they all fight amongst each other. They're interfighting. Their families falling apart. All right. Because the reality, they don't like you, they don't like themselves. All right. 611. What they do to the Shabbat image of their makers, they hate their own natural image. So they now deform their bodies. All right. Tattoo all over. Back in the day, that used to be a white person thing. Now we see black people doing that. All right. Putting themselves like animals, vampire teeth. We used to say that's some weird white people stuff. All right. Not anymore. The what is it called? Uh, 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 what do you have? Plastic surgery. Plastic surgery, the women back in the 90s and even before then, they get all this plastic surgery, particularly the big breasts. And we say, oh, there's some white people stuff. Not anymore. I mean, we doing it now too. But tattoo all over, change for Lawan color from their natural Lawanat colors to Zarek blue, Hamir red, Safir yellow, Kadir green, spotted. None of their natural color Farad or reddish blonde. All right. So you see why they do all that. They always altering themselves. All right. And they made us think that it's cool to do it now too. All right. Because reality, they don't like you. They don't like themselves. They don't like their makers. They don't like nothing. All right. So they put holes in their bashar flesh, insert objects in their kasar skin, split their lasanat tongues. All right. I'm going to be lizard boy today. I'm going to be alien man. All right. I'm going to pierce parts of my body, I'm going to put 1,500 ear holes all over my face and my ears. All right. So they change their teeth, fake the dye tweed, breasts, face alterations, and now spray paint their skin color. All right. So then now it's like they go into the tanning booth. All right. Because the reality, they don't like their pale skin. And then they're like, okay, you know what? Let's just spray paint it. Bronzers. All right. Bronzers was the thing in the 2000s, the early 2000s. 614. Kakas Nadu Mukradu. Caucasian children hate how they look. So their leaders before 1960s have their own problems with their own race. They would not Nassar help you, only lie and kill you. You cannot trust them to do anything for you. All right. So the reality, they can't help you. Their house is not in order. All right. Look at the way they talk to their parents. Nothing was sacred. All right. Now in the West, our children act like white kids now. All right. There's no structure, no order. All right. So let us in the West be a cautionary tale. All right. Of why you shouldn't want to be chasing after the Caucasian, because our families are breaking up as well. And we will put our parents in the nursing home. This generation will, and we will kill our parents for insurance money. All right. Because we've turned like the Caucasians. When you see the Caucasians, they have nothing sacred. All right. It took a while to get there, though. All right. So you cannot trust them to do anything for you. They have enough problems of their own nowadays with all nawat, kinds of skin problems, fur problems, diseases as they die out. All right. They're falling apart. The reality is that they're falling apart. And they're making it seem like a we thing. All right. The reality is a they thing. Now it's a we thing because we want to be like them. All right. As they glamorize their diseases, we want them too, right? 619. I mean, this woman, she was so dark. Like, it's funny because I'm like, the darkest people, they want the most strongest sunscreen. I just sell it to them. I'm like, okay, you can have it. Because I'm like, I'm tired of explaining, but I'm like, do you know anybody in your family with skin cancer? One, do you know anybody? And it's like, why are you getting the highest one? And then one girl, she was having problems with her skin, so I told her to do something. Beautiful black girl. She was so dark. And she had reacted. She had did something to her skin. And then I told her what to do. I said, keep it real simple and just do this to it. And I gave her the simplest thing. And she said, I said, just this. And she said, what about the sunscreen? But I don't want to burn. I was like, have you ever burnt in your life? I don't want skin cancer. I was like, well, if you need to put sunscreen, go ahead. But the sunscreen takes a toll on the skin too. So Caucasians, they know that sunscreen isn't good because that's why they don't wear it to go to sleep, because the pores open at night and it seeps deeper in. And sunscreen, it has its drawbacks, but get cancer or get this problem. I think I'll take this problem. So the reality is that people are taking medicine for things they don't need. If you need the medicine, by all means, take it, you know. But it's like we want to be like them, even have their diseases. All right. So 619. Yet help in good faith by other Salalu races is always welcomed and greatly appreciated. There was nothing wrong with equal separate racism out of nature's respect for how all was born. All right. So you have separate racism. That's different. It's because we explain what's the difference. We are racist in the fact of being like a scientist. You have a scientist, one who is familiar or one who studies science. You would call them a scientist. All right. You have a pianist, one who plays the piano. You have a racist, one who learns about and respects the races. All right, would be a racist. All right. And a simple fact of respecting what's good for everybody. Like, for example, as a Nagad Nadu woman, there's certain things I might do that I might not tell a Caucasian woman to do. And if I really care about this Caucasian woman, I might tell her, you should do this. That'll be more conducive. Because if she do what I do, then it's not conducive for her nature. All right. So compassion wouldn't let you ignore certain things if you really care. All right. Because what each person needs is unique to what they need. All right. So you respect the nature of it. Like, I'm not an animal person. I don't really like animals, but I don't like to see anything suffer. So I wouldn't have an animal personally, but if I saw like, oh, this is what this animal needs, and I could help it, I probably would, you know, and even if it's different from what I need. All right. So that's what we mean by natural racism. Unnatural racism is the hate, or you trying to go and convert something or make something do or have dominion over something and not respecting the nature of that thing. That is unnatural racism. So that's the difference. So there is nothing wrong with equal separate racism out of nature's respect for how all was born. Equal racism because racism is a fact of life that exists by nature, in a sense that nature produces different hamam nadu salal, human races, species that look different and have different racial natures, and of course different racial needs. All right. Like for a man and a woman, you're going to alter what a man needs is slightly different than what a woman needs. All right. For their optimal functioning. Now, if you just design something for just a man and you give it to both of them, it's going to be an unfair disadvantage to the men. All right. So each race has its own special needs, like each gender does too. All right. So 622, of course, Musbatu Sabians. These facts presuppose racism by nature. Hate racism or hate in racism is wrong. However, if it is one-sided racism, like some members of Paa Taraq, the Caucasian race, practices racism, it causes problems. If you are living under the rule of Sakamat's problems, all right, because that would disrupt the natural ecology, one-sided racism. So by their own records, when they went throughout the world, they were shown love. The natives, that's where they have Thanksgiving. The natives help save their life. Oh, you're dying? Let me show you how to farm, how to grow corn. This is what we eat. All right. And then in turn, let's kill the natives off. All right. By their own records, it was a one-sided racism. So they went and disturbed the natural ecologies of all others. All right. Through laws, they make up to Nasar help their kind and hurt all others. Like their education system, the prison system, judicial system, medical system, commercial system, and all these are one-sided racism by them. All right. So it's conducive for them. Eco-racism only exists by Caucasoids when they need other races to put on uniforms to protect their race and kill for them, entertain them. When sports in their name, Rana name, then they have equal racism. All right. So you have a black man go fight, or no, let's not even say fight. You have a black man that go play soccer for Germany, then they win a win for Germany. So German pride, Germany won. All right. And it's a black man. All right. But you're doing it on behalf of Germany. All right. So 626. So now at that time you're doing it on behalf of them. So now race doesn't matter. All right. Because they need you for something. That's why. 626. Yet true equal racism exists when a member or members of any ethnic race honors his or her own race as being a separate and different entity from all other races. All right. That's equal racism. All right. So I'm a black woman. I'm not a white woman. My needs as a black woman is unique to the needs of a black woman. And I would like that to be honored. All right. For my optimal functioning. All right. And every race should really do that. All right. And this is what my child would need. This is my unique needs and circumstances. All right. So I'm respecting my conditions. And that is different and separate from other people's conditions. All right. So yet has the Shahudness intelligence to do nothing to members of other ethnic races that she or he would not want done to self and kind. So I'm acknowledging I'm different. I have my unique set of circumstances and I want to serve my circumstances. But I'm intelligent enough not to go and harm others in a way that I'm not interested in being harmed. So you treat others with respect, all right, that you will want to be given to you, while at the same time you honor who you are. All right, and what's best for you. All right. So this Paa Taraq, the Caucasian race, does not respect or follow. All right. They don't respect or follow that because either this is what they're doing. They either dishonor everybody and say race don't matter when in actuality it does. All right. So now somebody's benefiting, everybody's getting hurt. Or they're saying, I'm the superior race. Let's go hurt everybody else. All right, both things are bad. All right, so white nationalist rally. And this is a picture where you see a white nationalist rally to oppose a plan to remove the statue of Robert E. Lee. All right, Robert E. Lee is the Confederate general. All right, for anybody who's not familiar with the what is it called? Domestic fight. What do you call that type of fight? Civil War. Civil War. Yeah, the Civil War. All right. So he was pro-slavery. All right, and he was fighting for the South. All right. So, and it's from a park which displayed violence and racism, leading to many injured and one dead. All right. This happened in 2017. All right. These are people. It's not might not be the clear picture, but this is what happened when they were trying to remove the statue. All right, the Confederate statue. All the way in 2017. So this isn't ancient history. And you had white nationalists that was saying, no, we want that statue to stay up. He's a hero in our book. All right. And even to go as far as to be violent, to keep it up. All right. So they come to other Murasat lands. They kill, rapes, and spread their disease, take over. Learn to Natuk speak the tongue long enough to Lakun, teach their own dialect. All right. That's what happened when I went and I took the tour in the slave ports in Ghana. That's what they did with the children. They raped and they set up these ports, had these mulatto children that was allowed to be in the church, and they were allowed to live pretty nicely and be out and see all the beauty. And their black parents were down in the dungeon not to have the sun touch their skin until they get into the boats or until they're killed or whatever they're being used for. And then they would indoctrinate the white children. I mean, not the white children, the mixed children. All right. To teach their own dialect and then also their own system. So now the mixed children are going to work on behalf of them. All right. They did that in Australia, everywhere they go. All right. And they usually come in and it doesn't start out as a war. They start the war. All right. They claim a new nationality, set up, raise a flag, create an anthem, enslave the indigenous Qasas-huu people of the land and say such thing as, I am a proud American citizen, and take Qasas-huu people from their own homelands and enslave them to serve them and call them nigger and negro and Afro-American abused. This is what only they and their subspecies, such as the Murabu Arabs, do and did and still do. Only Caucasoids and Murabu Arabs act this way to others. All right. Now, it's not a little known. It's not a little secret, but Asians, a lot of them have a lot of Caucasian blood in them. All right. And a lot of their nature is being changed. Like China is they mixed a lot. And then you can see the things, how they treat their own citizens. And then also they want to be the next what is it called? When you go and you take over colonizers. All right. And it shows what's happening to their genetics as well, because look at the way they treat their people. Their leaders sold out their soul. All right. And I'm not saying all Chinese, but it's something that they're contending with in their genetics now too. Even Starbucks going to China because it was a tea drinking culture. And now they drink the generation, all right, I would say 30 and younger, maybe 40 and younger. they drink coffee. They became a coffee nation, and tea is so much healthier for you. But if they can retain enough of their Asian genetics, in time they're going to see the results of partaking in this Caucasian system and the effects that it's having on them. And if they maintain enough of their genetics Asian, they're going to go back to their original Asian ways to heal themselves to the damage that they're doing to themselves. All right. So, and the same thing we're doing here. If we can maintain enough of our genetics, we're getting, a lot of us are getting wake up calls, and we want to return home. All right. If we have enough of our genetics to activate. So 632, Pa Kakasnadu Salau, the Caucasoid race, want all others to worship them, and no other except them. That is their Yakas gene, as in, that is in their gene. As in Exodus chapter 20, verses 30, Exodus chapter 20, verses 3 to 5 reads, Thou shalt have no other God before me. Thou shalt make unto thee any, thou shalt not make any, let me read that again. Thou shalt have no other God before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images or any likeness of anything that is not in heaven above, or that is in heaven above. All right, let's read that again. I don't know why I'm tripping over this. Okay, Exodus chapter 20, verses 3 through 5 reads, Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord, thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. This is passed in their genes by their makers, and also they went and mixed in with all others. All right. So a lot of us, it passed on to us. Like, look at Japanese anime. How many Japanese people naturally have blonde hair and blue eyes? Why do so many of their characters do, if you watch anime? All right. Because throughout the world, many of us mixed in with them and worship them. All right. But we have an awakening, and a lot of us are going back to our natural nature. So a lot of Naga Nadu, we were out our minds. A lot of Asians were out their minds too. All right. And other genes got in. All right. But by their natural natures, all right, everybody's in harmony in their own place in time. All right. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 27 reads, And God said, Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. All right. That's also the King James versions. All their Jawed, wicked, and Nahes, evil ways, in Genesis chapter 6, verses 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. You cannot reform them. All right. Because that is their genes. All right. Can you be reformed? Yes. Why? Because your genes are being affected. All right. Let's say you have Nadaru and you have Adamite infections. All right. You could clean out those genetics. But what if the infection itself is your genetics? What is there to reform? So I remember Bob was saying you have to have something to work with. Now, the Caucasian female, they can be reformed only because they have the mitochondrial DNA. So it's still something they already have that you could work with. All right. So your genetics you could work with. Do you have some evil, wicked ways within yourself? If you're honest, the answer is going to be yes. All right. And that's what you're working to kind of go past. So you're not trapped on this density. All right. And that's why Baaba's our reformer. All right. So can you be reformed? Well, that's we'll see. We'll see. We're in that process. 634. So they will hate and kill any people or Masta country who don't accept them, their image, their Kadab culture, their Zaham religion, their political system, their educational system. They want all others to live by their laws. Or they start wars and invade Zahamat religions and seek to destroy anyone who will not worship them. And I remember I was learning something about Japan, because remember Japan had Pearl Harbor and all this, and World War II, okay, and all that happened. And if I wasn't mistaken, I think that they had some type of agreement to make their anime that way, the way that it looks, because it looks like you're watching a bunch of white characters, which is really bad on the psychology of little Japanese children. All right, because they're seeing something other than themselves as a standard. All right. But I feel like from what I remember, somebody explained to me that it was actually some type of agreement somebody made behind closed doors to have the cartoons like that. All right. And that would be after World War II. All right. So, Musbatu Sabians, I Natuk speak to you as Baabaa Yaanun. You, by Sha'ab tribe, race, species, and Moisar family. People know this. A large part of the solution to one-sided Salalism, racism, is knowledge, or the lack of it, on the subject and practicing what you know about your race of Qasas-huu people. Right? This is Yaanun speaking to us, because Yaanun is about the culture. All right. So he said that is one of the solutions. All right. What you know about your race, you start to practice what you know of your own race, because that's a form of respect. All right. So granted, at one time you didn't know better. We're still learning, granted. But as you're learning, you should be applying, because that's helping to remove those adverse forces off of you. All right. But some of us, we grown addicted to some of this adverse forces. All right. Or we are too afraid to leave too. But you start practicing your daily lives. All right. What you know about your own race. All right. Like the Chinese, it's gonna be a lot of healing for them when they say, oh my gosh, we're having all these health problems we didn't have before Starbucks came. And then they say, you know what? Let's go back to what our people were doing before these problems came. And let's practice. Maybe we forgot some things, but let's practice what we know. Eventually they get back. All right. So what can be found, confirmed, proven? Should you accept, not believe, faith, not trust of his Qasas-huu, his stories, Sa'amas, religions, or otherwise, because they always make the finds and claims, because they only fund and grant their own. All right. There's been many Nagar Egyptologists, for lack of a better word of saying Egyptologists, or historians, and they are dismissed. They grant their own. So they decide what facts are pertinent. They decide what they want to fund. They decide what they want the public to know. All right. And it's always their own, because they make themselves as the authority over everything. So you never get to hear what they really found. If it's about you, they will put it away, hidden from you by lies and cover up. So when they find things about you, they hide it. All right. So I have a friend that he travels to Egypt and different places, and he was explaining that in also the European museums, And he was saying that you see the really black Egyptians, but here in the States or just various places, you don't see them, and they don't allow cameras. So where they have the really black Egyptians, they don't allow you to take pictures. So you only ever see the mixed Egyptians from the later dynasties. All right. So they decide what they bring to the public. All right. And they decide what they keep behind closed doors for themselves. They hide it, destroy it, cover up. All right. So firstly, you must understand the nature of this racist problem. They know they're only 6,000 years old and they did not build anything. They have any higher rakakaj knowledge. They know they don't have any of that. Domains such as Atlantis or Akor-Wat or Egypt or any other by other races. All right. Egypt, it was already built. They just went and settled it and mixed in with the people. All right. They didn't contribute. All right. They might have contributed to the politics and what we see today, because the people in Egypt don't look like the people on the walls. They don't dress like them. All right. And they want me, I'm like, I'm African. I don't see my African ancestors with all this stuff covered up. Not until we start mixing. Yes, after we start mixing, I start seeing all that. And granted, I've been mixed, I understand. All right. So I'd be all covered up and make no eye contact or anything, but not my African ancestors, not the unmixed ones. All right. So you never get to hear what they really found. If it's about you, they will put it away, hidden from you by lies, cover up. 638. So, firstly, you must understand the nature of this racist problem. They know that they're only 6,000 years old. They did not build anything or have any higher Rakukaj knowledge domains such as Atlantis or Angkor-Wat or Muqammat, Egypt, or any others by other races. This he knows. His Bible is Sajalat's records. And you can trace it from Jesus back to back to Adam, and then Adam's age. All right. So, do I want to read through all this? Yeah. All right. So, this is just going to be a whole page and a half of just who came from who. All right. So, in Luke chapter 3, verses 23 through 38 reads, Jesus, when he began his ministry, was about 30 years of age. Being a son, he was supposed of Joseph, the son of Heli, the son of Mathat, the son of Levi, the son of Mochi, the son of Janah, the son of Joseph, the son of Matthias, the son of Amos, the son of Nahum, the son of Esli, the son of Nagai, the son of Math, the son of Matthias, the son of Simeon, the son of Josek, the son of Joda, the son of Jonan, the son of Ressa, the son of Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, the son of Neri, the son of Melchi, the son of Adi, the son of Kosam, the son of Alma-Adam, the son of the son of Joshua, the son of Eliza, the son of Joram, the son of Mathat, the son of Levi, the son of Simeon, the son of Judah, the son of Joseph, the son of Jonam, the son of Eliakim, the son of Meliah, the son of Menah, the son of Mathatha, the son of Nathan, the son of David, the son of Jesse, the son of Obed, the son of Boaz, the son of Salah, the son of Noshan, the son of Adban, Adam. All right, that's a funny name. The son of Admin, the son of Ani, the son of Hezron, the son of Perez, the son of Judah, the son of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the son of Abraham, the son of Terah, the son of Nohad, the son of Serug, the son of Rub, the son of Peleg, the son of Eber, the son of Shelah, the son of Canaan, the son of Asphadex, Aspasad, the son of Shem, the son of Noah, the son of Lamech, the son of Methuselah, the son of Enoch, the son of Jared, the son of Mahalalel, the son of Canaan, the son of Enos, the son of Seth, the son of Adam, the son of God. All right. So we went from all the way, which they put in their records of the age that they're claiming, took you through all the generations, all right, all the way from Jesus, which was only 2,000 years ago, all the way back to God. And you see, that was such a short span. The Orientals, much older than that. Africans, of course, much older than that. All right. And now, Genesis also takes you through the records, but we don't need to repeat it again. It gives you the records with slightly different details, but it's pretty much taking you again from Adam's line, because we started with Jesus, but the other way we're going to go from Adam all the way to Jesus. All right. So it repeats again from Genesis chapter 5, verses 1 through 32. All right. So their ages tell you how long they lived. Put both together of Renan name list, and you will see they are no older than 6,000 years. They even claim Adam was made 404 BCE in their own Misfahat books of religion. All right. So in the Genesis one, it tells you how old they each one lived. So Bible said add up the age of each father, and the furthest it goes back is 6,000 years. All right. So that's one thing. And then also, they also admit to being only 6,000 years old. All right. That's their little tiny little record. All right. 639. Their ages tell you how long they lived. All right. 640. So they, as a race, Mudamu Adamites, the Adam in Hebrew means blush, flush, reddish, pale, pinkish, rosy, ruddy, spotted. That is the white race, no others. Their Torah, Old Testament, Gospel, New Testament, Quran, Last Testament, all agree on Adamite bloodline, chosen by gods from above. In the Quran, chapter 3, verses 33 reads, indeed, Allah chose Adam and Noah and the family of Abraham and the family of Imran over the worlds. All right. So it tells you in the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, they all agree on the same people, the same family line. All right. And they go back to the same beings. Thus, this Salah race cannot be tongue of the South Africa findings called Australopithecus africanus, or Tan Mukra Chow, which is 2.5 million years old, or Lucy, who is 3.2 million years old, found in Hadar, Awash Valley in Ethiopia, Africa, or Ardi, which is 5.8 million years old, also found in Malaya, Ethiopia. Africa, or Araran to Genesis, which is 6.1 million years old, found in Kenya, Africa, and Taurus Manila, found which is 7 million years old, found in Chad, Africa. All right. So every time that they think they find something even older. All right, because all these findings didn't happen at the same time. All right. So we know that we Nagad Nadu Negroids as a race existed on this planet as far back as 7 million years, all found in what is now called Afafrika, Africa. These are the Hakaka actual facts. When the Bible records only show those Kayuya created or made in Mesopotamia, or Adam no older than 6,000 years, according to their Bible and Quranic history, or his story. Now, truth is truth. All right, this is the Tang Chow fossil. skull of a young Australopithecus africanus. That's what it's called. All right. And these are the skulls. All these skulls they're finding in Africa. Okay. Now, 647. Not knowing these facts because of Zahama's religious beliefs is part of the problem of racism, one-sided. Okay. So the thing is that many of us don't take time to know these facts. So that's part of the problem because you don't know yourself, you don't respect yourself. All right. So just take time to know the facts. That's why we say actual facts. If it's not factual, you can't confirm it. You have a right to not accept it. All right. There is a lot of facts that's still being disclosed. All right. But you don't have to accept something and base your life on it until you can confirm it. But there's been a lot to confirm you thus far. All right. – 648. He does not tell you these things. You would never have heard of these things if Afafre-Ka-U Africans were not there or found by Africans your own race. All right. So what Bob is saying is that whenever they do these excavations, there's Africans that's already there. So they have no choice but to put some of the information out. But when they find it on their own, they will hide it. All right. So you would have never known this if the Africans weren't there. All right. Or if it wasn't found by our Africans, your own race. So you must understand their fatata nature and problem, which is basically a spiritual and Ziomus religious in the form of Nahes evil and Hajayat, spells of Laben Sha'ats, white magic versus Kamem Sha'ats, black magic. Qazabat's lies versus Sawab truth. All right. So we have black magic, which they said is, oh, black magic is bad. White magic is innocent. It's good. All right. That's not how we define black magic and white magic. So let's define our own meaning. What do we mean by that? So white magic deals with the power of illusion. All right. Because based on how the light appears to be, you can hide certain facts. So, for example, if you do shows on Vegas with the magic shows, through the lights, camera, even if you're there live, you put the smoke and everything like that, you can play with the image of the light. All right. Black magic, it deals with what's behind the light. All right. So now you're going into the very growths of it. So you're investigating, going behind, not just how things appear to be, but you have to ask the questions, how did it grow? So that's why our magic is like in that center. All right. So we have our two eyes. All right. But we have more than just our two eyes. So now we know that seeing is still a form of belief. Because people say seeing is seeing is believing, which is true. Because seeing is not always knowing. Because I could see it, but I didn't go and confirm it. I didn't touch it. So what I saw was just an illusion. Like, for example, technology has gotten so good that you can have a spaceship that's actually real, and you can have a spaceship that's actually fake, and they could be both side by side. You won't know which one is the illusion until you start to go investigate the circumstances around it. And if you have enough sciences to break it down, then you'll be able to tell which one was just a projection, a hologram, and which one was real. So it's not just seeing with your two physical eyes, all right? Because that's what they depend on with white magic. Black magic is seeing with your mind's eye, all right? Having common sense, asking questions, all right? So it's all about natural nature, being in tune with natural nature. White magic, you don't have to be in tune with natural nature. You just have to be in tune with the appearances, and the appearances are elusive. All right. So that's what it's all about. All right. White magic versus black magic, which is Qasas-huu, lies versus Sawab, truth. It's blind faith and outright Gahalan, ignorance in all of its forms. And learn to deal with the hakakats, facts. Give them back Adam, Noah, Abraham, Jacob, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad's stories, which is not about our race at all. All right? So stop ignoring the facts. All right? You learn about something you never heard before. You don't have to just accept it. Go investigate it. All right? I didn't really accept extraterrestrials just because Baba said it. It was, I had my own confirmations. One such confirmation was when the article about Henrietta Lacks came out, and this poor woman from, what was she born? I forgot when she was born. Her name was Henrietta Lacks. And then when I found out that, she's in every vaccine, her DNA, they call her DNA is very unique because her DNA is still alive and is still reproducing itself, and they keep it in a laboratory. They have tons of her DNA. The medical industry uses it. They use her DNA in vitro fertilization. But when I found out that NASA purchased her DNA as well, and NASA used her DNA, it clicked. Because I said NASA deals with space. So what does NASA need with Nagaru DNA? All right, or this special woman's DNA. So I saw a genetic link to space. All right, that was my confirmation that I started looking into a little bit more. All right, so you don't have to accept nothing, all right, that you haven't gone and confirmed for yourself. And hopefully that's what you're doing, not just because it sounds deep from a person that you admire. That's not actual facts. All right. So give them back everything. Deal with it accordingly. This is Baba. Deal with it accordingly. As this is one reason why I, Baabaa Yaanun, approach our problems, that of Pa Nagad Nadu Salau, the Negro race, from an educational, genealogical, philosophical, historical, and spiritual perspective. All right. So Baba's telling you how he approaches the problems to our race. All right. From genealogy to education, the whole philosophy, historical, spiritual, there's no taboo. All right. So there's many ways that you can go and confirm, because Baabaa Yaanun is there for you. If you want to talk genealogy, all right, you want to talk philosophy, you want to talk history, right? You want to talk perspective. There's many ways to confirm. There's many ways to skin a cat, so to speak, right? And there's so many beings on the planet, and they're not always wired the same. But by the pattern of natural nature, all right, you find it, and you cling into natural nature through the facts. All right. You may end up in the same space. All right. Because if you go through the genealogy, you'll end up being confirmed what the spirituality will confirm. They confirm each other. All right. It adds up. 652. Caucasus Nadu, the Salau, the Caucasian race, spent billions of their wealth to convince others of their akadat, beliefs, zaam, religion, historically, or other ways. And they are the best of Mumalu actors and actresses in Sanam, cinema or TV, all right? Because they act through life. So they are good actors. You know who I like as an actor? Tom Hanks. He's very moving. But then when I see him, and who knows, I think is a good actor. What's his name? That kid who was on. He looks like a kid. he was on Titanic, Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks, because they really embody the character. But when you really just look at Tom Hanks and his everyday interactions, I'm like, he looks like such a manipulator. He always has this concerned look on his face, like he's a caring person. I'm like, yeah, he's constantly always acting. All right. So they're the best actors on TV. All right. Because they're selling a lifestyle, they're selling their superiority. All right. They're the spokesperson of their race through their white magic. All right. 653. They can be a real judge or play judges and seem real. A real police officer or play one. A real doctor or play one. A real killer or play one. A real rapist or play one. Really in love or play as if they are in love. Cry so real you feel it. And laugh so hard you begin to laugh with them. All right? Because they didn't start just acting on screen. This is because they have lost their Ba'a soul and they don't have any real shorat, emotions as you do. So you don't know when they are pretending or not. A good movie to watch is called The Congress. All right, and it shows how it's a very slow movie, but it's a very interesting movie, and it's pretty much about the illusions and how everything is just fake. And it's a movie about this woman. She's an actor, but you see that they're living in a altered state. All right, and then she does some type of acting, and she gives her greatest performance that they capture to make a AI, so they won't need her anymore. All right, it's like a dystopia type of film too, but it's good. Called The Congress. All right, so it's depicting this you see right here. They spend billions on Tayyaf ghost cinemas, then hunting down real Tayyaf ghosts, and namaz pray for Holy Ghost to enter them, which you call the Holy Ghost. When dealing with them, you have no way of knowing what is behind their ayantwi eyes. All right. A lot of them smile in your face. I'm thinking about that black lady. She went to that sleepover, and she was the only black lady, and then they killed her with these other white ladies. And she just died mysteriously. But in the picture, they're all sitting on a couch, a pajama party, like they're all friends. All right. So you never know. I'm always remembering when I was 5 and I was in kindergarten, and I guess apparently I must have these girls. They said I stuck my tongue out at them. Maybe I did. I don't know. So then the next day, supposedly, because I don't remember sticking my tongue out at them, but maybe I did. And they came to me and they was do you want some candy? And I was like, yeah, follow me. So I followed them, and they kept giggling as we were walking. I would giggle too. They giggled. It's all white girls, and they were probably like a grade or two above me, maybe second grade. And then when I finally got up to where they were taking me, it was a classroom. Yeah, there's candy up there. There was a white man, a teacher, so he had told him to do that. And then he was there, and then he threatened me. And then there was a class, and everybody was white. And there was a class sitting there, and he was like, he's going to cut my tongue off. And then he said, you could go now. And it's like the way that they lured me, you know, and they had smiles. And it was fun going up the stairs with them. And then the reality is that they set me up, you know, and that was it. You know, no child was harmed, at least physically. And I just went back down. And then I told a story to some adults, but they just thought I was so cute, so they thought it was a funny story, and they just laughed. So they just like, oh, it's so cute. Why'd you stick your tongue out at them? No, he didn't. And that was it. So when you're dealing with them, you have no way of knowing what is behind their ayantui eyes. All right. So even at that age, you see how conniving those little girls were. All right. And how they plotted, because that was planned. All right. So they will never necessarily help or heal you. That is racism. It's not in the, like you see how much billions of dollars that they collected on behalf of Haiti, which is not that big of an island. I mean, it's big, but I mean, you have whole countries that are much bigger. And they collected billions from the Red Cross. All right. There was no intention to help the Haitians. They built 6 houses. 6 houses. And the presidential building, I forgot what they called it. It was still messed up when I went years later. And then you just see that they found some precious metals. So Canada and the United States, they were really there just drilling. So there's no desire to help you, because they could have rebuilt Haiti 5 times over with all that money that was collected. All right. So that's an example of they have no intention to ever help you. All right. Because your destitute is really their riches. All right. All the precious metals that they found. They have a lot of the same metals they didn't know about. They found a few years before that earthquake. A lot of some of the same precious metals that's in Africa is in the soil. So they were mining. All right. So 659. If you say we can do all of the above also as Mumadlu actors, I say not before slavery, one-sided. All right. So a lot of us like to say, yeah, but we're not so different. Listen, you got them Adamite genes and them Adamite programming in you. All right. So when Baba says, well, you have a lot of us that can act and be so conniving and you don't know, he says you couldn't do all that before slavery. All right. That wasn't your nature before slavery. All right. And this hatred and jealousy that we have, that's not before slavery. How some of us talk through our noses. All right. Somebody said I'm slightly nasally. All right. To an African standard. Yes, I am to an African standard, because Africans don't talk like this. All right. But I've been here. All right. So you say why can't we all just get along? And they smile on the outside, yet on the inside, their unholy Ka spirit says, because I hate you, Muskasu people. All right. If they're not hating you, they're hating somebody else. There's never a time where Caucasian people just say, there's always a time where there's somebody to target. Right now, it's the Mexicans. All right. South Americans. All right. Specifically Mexicans. It's always somebody. Their unity is not love. Their unity is hatred. And if you're not doing their bidding to cause harm to yourself or someone else, you'll never be in their club. And even when you're doing that, you're not really in their club. All right. So no, they can't get along with you. They don't like you, even if they're smiling. They like you for the moment. All right. So one vital and most important thing that is in our Sakam power to do is this. Stop trying to be liked by them, and stop trying to change your ethnic Salalu races, or stop trying to change other ethnic Salalu races to be like them by Kadab culture or religion. All right. So stop trying to be like them, and stop going to other people who's minding their business and doing their own thing and going preaching their religious cultures and pushing on others. All right. So learn to respect yourself and learn to respect others. All right. You are not Mujwawu Jewish. You are not Muksasu Christian, and you're not Muslimu Muslim. Those are their Za'amats, religions. Instead, we all by Salal race must change ourselves to how we must be in order to cope with each of our own problems. And the primary step is regaining our own true Khazab culture, aided by research and Hakakat's actual facts. For us, that is Wu-Sabat, to each their own. All right. So it says that to each race is going to come with the solutions to their own problems. All right. Now, before us Africans can help others as the mother and father of everyone, you must first have helped yourself. All right. So that's the primary step. All right. So we are aided by research, by hakaka. It's not faith. You don't have to have faith. Even if Baba said it, you don't have to have faith. You don't require that. All right. You have to have confirmation. All right. We Nagad Nadu Negroids, as an ethnic race, are still in mental captivity as well as spiritual and almost religious bondage. And we must not allow ourselves to slip back into physical captivity, because that's where it's going. All right. So if we don't stop what we're doing and get back on our own frequency, because the mind, the body goes where the mind is. All right. And you see what we were doing in the 60s compared to what we're doing now. We were closer to liberation back then. Look at look at what's happening, not just in America, throughout the world. Look at all those African countries that got their independence in the 60s. You know, the 60s, that was a big time. So that's why they doubled down in the 70s with this 60s as well. That's where they really was like, okay, we gotta fight this out. They talk about black is beautiful. Let them never wear their afros ever again. All right. Let's give them all kind of trinkets to bring them back and simmer that spirit down. Let's pay them to be pimps and hoes and drug addicts and drug dealers. All right. Do the research on when that whole thing was being started. All right. So this is why I have come for you. That is why I have come to you for you. All right. So now Baba is telling you what his whole purpose of being here. All right. What is? It's not just so he could sit there eating grapes, some great deity, which he is, you know. But the reason why I say that is because a lot of us, that's what we're doing. We just want this. It's not for any real liberation, right? We just want attention, some of us, a lot of his students. But Baba makes it clear why he came for us, because we must never, ever go back to physical captivity, all right? It's time for us to liberate in all facets, all right? My story to him is a mystery. My story is your story, not his story, history, all right? So as you learn about Baba's story, you're really learning about yourself. And that's why Baba said, get to know him, all right? You're going to expand your mind. You get to know him, you get to know his mind. His mind, he put all in the scrolls, he said. That'll expand your mind. And now you're going to open your mind's eye. And poets, that concludes our scroll. And we say, when we repeat this, if you look at the symbol from the letter T to the letter T, from the letter Pa to the letter Ta, you will notice the inwardness. All right. Repeat this when in need of him to hear and to help you. Apta Paa Taraq Rawuk Yaanun. Apta Pa Baabaa Yaanun. Open the way to the soul of Yaanun. Open the door towards him. And behind the central door is the way to Baabaa Yaanun, Yaanun's soul. This is Yaanun's soul. And what is he showing you, poets? That's the soul of the people, of his people, because his story is your story. Ashuk Moisar, and that is Sawab, Kawun Sawab. Truth is truth. All right. From beginning to beginning. All right. So Ashuk, does anybody have any questions or anything that they are stimulated by the scroll in general? This is a scroll we read today. All right, we concluded our scroll. It's a very powerful scroll. All right, so we see the clear distinction that was for him is not for you, talking about the Caucasus-huu, all right, and all the other races, even to each race, all right, they had their unique features, all right, and you have your unique features. We need to learn that self-love again, all right. So, all right, so we can take time to digest it. Our next scroll we'll read sometime this week. Oh yes, Zamal Kamem still.
Rahubat Moisa. All I can say, thank you very much for doing the this scroll. Absolutely fantastic, you know. Everything in the scroll I can relate to. So yeah, it's just great to be reminded of it. So Paa Taraq for your time, energy, and encouragement.
Right. And Paa Taraq for being here, you know, because that energy and encouragement is helping me as well. All right. We have a short time to, what does it say? We have to take a long walk on a short path. All right. It means we have so much to do. All right. In such a short time. All right. So to come together, this is one of the things that's very helpful to us. So I appreciate reading the scrolls. All right. And getting the facts out. As Baabaa wrote it, it's an honor and a pleasure. And now you can notice when you look around, you can see all the games that's been played, even inside our organization. You'll be able to see it. And you don't have to fall victim. You won't even have to fall victim to your own ego, all right? Because you'll see the games that you may play with your own mind sometimes. So it's a work in progress. And I appreciate everybody who's doing the work to be the best version of themselves. All right. So with that, we can close unless somebody else has anything they'd like to say. And we'll, yes, is a mild chat.
Right, to everyone in the room, I just wanted to say thank you again. You are making a lot of breakthroughs. Does resonate a lot, and it's really helping break down a lot of barriers. And your time is very precious, and I just wanted to give you your accolades for the time that you put in to help those that are really working through a lot. So it does really change a lot. So thank you again for your time.
Tawahat as well is a Maltat. And I appreciate your time for being here, you know, because, you know, we feed off of each other's energy. So I appreciate these supportive forces. Behind the doors, it's not always supportive, but the people who do show up and that they do want to be better, you know, it's all good. We all helping each other. So let's keep holding space for each other. And we'll get through a lot of breakthroughs individually and collectively. So I feel myself as well pushing past certain barriers too. So all right. So I think this is a great place for us to wrap up. And then the chat will go back to muted, just so we could spend time focused on our scrolls and not so many distractions that has came into this room from time to time. So with that being said, Ashuk, Moisar, and Wadu.
Ashuk, Wadu.
Wadu.
Tawakun, Wu, Nafir, Talal, Saud, Wisa.